Unfortunately, today's video is not the good morning, let's feed my pets content that you guys are traditionally here for. I have an update on Holly's health, and it's not the best update. So we're just gonna jump right in. I know you guys are here for the good and the bad, and unfortunately, this is one of those not so good times. But there's a lot of information to cover, so let's just jump right in. Holly might have cancer, and I know that that's a lot to process, and I know that you have a million questions straight out of the gate, and I'm gonna try to address them all, but if there's something that I miss, just leave it in the comments and I will try to get to it. First and foremost, there's already a plan. This has been going on for 3 months, give or take, and the only reason I hadn't addressed it publicly or talked about it on a public platform like this is because I wanted to have all of the information I could possibly have before letting everyone know. I think the easiest way for me to go about this is to just go through the timeline of events. I don't know if that's the most effective thing to do, but it's the most logical way that my brain can process it. So if it's annoying, I'm so sorry. You can just kind of skip around and just get the pieces of information that you want or need. So back in May, I took Holly in for a regular routine vet visit. It was just to take blood work, get her weight, make sure everything was going fine, regular, average, everyday vet visit. And I mentioned to them that her hips were hurting her a little bit more and that we might need to increase her dosage of Rimadyl, which is her standard pain medication for things like hip and joint achy pains. Rimadyl is known to negatively impact the liver and kidneys on occasion, so upping her dosage of Rimadyl, we knew that we needed to come back and make sure that those levels were fine. And she's never had a problem on Rimadyl before, so we were all confident that this would be a normal just increase of pain medications and everything would be fine. But then in June, so about a month later, we went back because Holly had a regular dental cleaning, where they put them under anesthesia, they clean their teeth, and obviously they do blood work preemptively. And her liver enzymes were elevated, which we assumed was because of the increase of Rimadyl. So we took her off of Rimadyl, she got her teeth cleaned, and they put her on something that was supposed to help the levels level out. I'm not a medical professional, so let's just keep that in mind. Anyway, about 30 days after that, so in August, we went back and the levels had gotten worse, they didn't improve. So if it would have been due to the medication, then it would have fixed itself. But because changing the medication and putting her on the other thing that was supposed to help her levels level out didn't work, we knew that there was something else at play. So we did general radiographs and her vet found a mass on her liver, and we realized at that point that it had nothing to do with Rimadyl, that was just completely coincidental, and the mass on her liver was the cause of all of these issues. As you can imagine, that made me incredibly anxious and very upset to hear that she had a mass on her liver, and her vet knows us very well, and she knows that we would just prefer blatant honesty, even if it's something that's going to be difficult to hear. So she immediately let us know that although she couldn't tell me definitively if it was cancer, it was very likely that the mass was cancerous. She was also able to get us a direct in with an oncologist. So we kind of got to skip the internal medicine specialist and just went straight to oncology, which saved us some time and some scans. The oncologist decided to go straight in with an ultrasound to get a better look at the mass on her liver and check the surrounding areas to see if the masses had spread. Unfortunately, she did find smaller masses on her spleen, and they came to the conclusion that the original mass on her liver was larger than originally anticipated. We decided to move forward with fine needle aspiration samples to send to pathology to figure out if the masses were cancerous, and luckily the masses on her spleen came back as benign, so they're not cancerous, but the mass on her liver that we're most worried about came back as inconclusive. So we were left with put her under anesthesia to do a biopsy or put her under anesthesia to remove it altogether. And we both decided that it would be better to put her under anesthesia 1 time instead of 2, given that she's 13 years old. Before I move on to the next set of events, I want to backtrack just a little and mention that at this point in the timeline in August, and to this day right now as I'm filming this, Holly has shown no negative signs or symptoms. If I wouldn't have had this exact timeline of events and I wouldn't have been so adamant about constantly taking her to the vet, I would not know she has a mass on her liver. And there's a reason why you guys have no idea up until you're watching this video that anything is wrong with her, because she seems totally fine. The only reason I know something is wrong is because she got blood work done and her liver enzymes were elevated, and I went and made sure that we figured out why they were elevated. Because if it wasn't her medication, there was something else wrong, because they wouldn't be elevated for no reason. And her vet wanted to make sure that we got to the root of the problem. But to this day, she's still happy, healthy, go-lucky, the Holly that all of you know. So if it wouldn't have been for taking her to the vet constantly, I literally wouldn't have known. Back to the regular timeline of events, We just came to the conclusion that we don't want to have to put her under anesthesia twice, and we'd rather just remove the mass than biopsy the mass and then come to the conclusion that we have to remove it. So her regular veterinarian and her oncologist came together and they formed the conclusion that it would be best to wait 3 months before going into surgery just to really make sure she actually needs surgery and I didn't do something that was unnecessary. So we waited 3 months and nothing changed. Over the course of 3 months, her regular behavior, her normal day-to-day activities, how she is as a dog every single day was all the same. Nothing changed. So after 3 months, we went back to her oncologist and we opted to just jump straight to a CT scan, assuming that she would probably need surgery. And if that's the conclusion we came to, they could use a CT scan to help prep for surgery. Unfortunately, the results of the CT scan weren't great. The mass had grown from 5 centimeters to 8 centimeters. But the good news is, although it had grown, she hadn't shown any new negative signs or symptoms. So the mass is growing, but it wasn't negatively impacting her, at least in a way that was very obvious. Unfortunately, that did mean that we all came to the understanding that she definitely needs surgery. So we're going to move forward on the 26th with not only removing the portion of her liver that includes the mass, but we're also going to do a splenectomy. So we're going to take out her whole spleen altogether, which I would be lying if I said that didn't kind of freak me out, but apparently they don't need it. It just feels weird to me to take out a whole organ, but I'm not a medical professional, which we've already established, so I'm just gonna go with what they think is best. I know that Holly being 13 and going through such an extensive surgery is worrisome. Trust me, I know it looks like I have everything together, but I get to re-record sections as many times as I want, and you just get to see the final polished version. I'm not doing well with this. However, her surgical team, her oncologist, and her primary care veterinarian are all on the same page of understanding that Holly is a fantastic candidate for this surgery. None of them have even mentioned the fact that being 13 is a factor just because of how healthy she is for her age. And apparently nowadays, tons of older dogs go in for surgeries, and it's very common. Like I mentioned before, I waited to share any of this publicly until I had literally as much information as I could possibly have, aside from her actually getting the results and being done with surgery. We're approaching this as if she does have cancer, so we're just going to remove it, assuming it's cancerous. They're going to send the masses off to pathology, and I'll get an answer after the fact. So I'll get the phone call that says, hey, your dog had cancer, but we fixed it, or hey, your dog didn't have cancer, but we removed the disgusting mass that was on her liver. Either way, we're either going to cure the cancer or get rid of the mass. So it will be good news either way. This has obviously been very emotional for me and my family, but you guys are her family too. And this page is not just about sharing the good times. And we have a lot of good times, but there's also some bad times. And I want to make sure that I keep you guys updated as much as I possibly can. I know a big question you guys are going to be left with at this point is the finances of it all. How much is this going to cost and how are we going to pay for it? Because as soon as you bring up oncology and cancer with any medical anything, it gets egregiously expensive. And you would be right. When everything is all said and done between the vet visits and the scans and the surgery itself, we're looking at a bill in excess of $10,000, which is an egregious amount of money. And I would be lying if I said I couldn't use your help, both emotionally and financially, but I want to make it very, very clear that you guys have absolutely zero obligation to help me with my financial needs for my pets. Future me just quickly popping in here to address something that I completely forgot about before. We don't have insurance, and that would have helped a lot. This would have been like completely covered, if not mostly covered, and now the financial obligation is completely on me and the grace of you guys if you would like to help me. So if you're looking for a sign to get insurance, take this as your sign and get it today, because majority of this, if not all of it, would have been covered. And I did a deep dive on insurance companies like 5 years ago and came to the conclusion that my pets are seniors, there's probably nothing that wouldn't have been a pre-existing condition and nothing would be covered. So I just put them on wellness plans, which is preventative care, and I didn't sign them up for insurance, and it is one of my largest regrets. So don't be me. Sign up for pet insurance. It is 100% worth it, and it is my biggest regret that I didn't do it. With that being said, if you are an insurance company for pets and you want to work with us, please reach out to me. My email is in my bio. Okay, anyway, but if you can help and you want to help, I've added a donate page to our website, Milk and Holly, and I'll put a link in our stories and in our bio and everything, so it's easy to find. We also have merch. You can shop our merchandise. We make t-shirts, and I recently launched a calendar that I haven't even really talked about because obviously my mind has been a little bit sidetracked. I have PayPal. I didn't set up a GoFundMe. I'm going to be sending out stickers for people who donate more than $10. You'll just have to send me a DM or an email with your address so that I can send them to you. Now that this is out publicly, I promise to keep everyone as updated as I possibly can. I'll still be posting my regular content. I have tons of things that were pre-filmed, but in terms of Holly and her surgery and her recovery, you're gonna know what was filmed before surgery and what was filmed after. She'll be very shaved, and we're not gonna make fun of her for her shaved belly. We're just establishing that now. Anyway, I'll keep you guys updated. We have the same username across basically all social media platforms that we have, which is like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I think that's it. I'm pretty sure that's it. As one last general disclaimer that I kind of don't want to say, but I feel like is necessary, if you are looking to give medical advice, I'm not open to hearing it. She has an amazing team that is very aware of her situation, and we're going forward with her plan with the doctors and the oncologists and the veterinarians that know her personally and know her situation firsthand. But I do appreciate the concern. I just know I'm gonna get those comments of try XYZ, and I want you to know that I have tried everything, and this is the best plan we can move forward with. Now that that disclaimer is out of the way, I absolutely hated doing that. I'm so sorry. I just felt like it needed to be said, but now that it's out of the way, I want to thank you so much for your support. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments, and I promise I will keep you guys updated.